Thanks for joining us on this Friday. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. I want to show you some of the images out of Alberta where wildfires have been spreading this week. So hearing stories like that is just one example of what many people are going through. You can help. Go to theredcross.ca. You can also donate by texting the Red Cross to 30333. That's 3 3s at the end. I want to show you this, and if you stick with me here, it might be hard to sort of understand what's going on, but this is a satellite view at night of the plume of smoke. We take you back to May 1st. So that's Fort McMurray there. So you can see this fire. We've circled it for you, starting to spread, and it's always going to be wind dependent a little bit in terms of which way it's spreading. And then overnight May 3rd, then we take you to May 4th when you can see it's starting to spread quite a bit more. And then we leave you with yesterday when it grew quite a lot over the span of a couple of days. Last check on Wednesday, it was about 10,000 hectares. And then the latest update that I know of is over 80,000 hectares burned, which is larger than the size, or pretty similar to the size, of the city of Calgary. Now for today, the winds are going to be out of the west, sustained at about 10 kilometers an hour, so light winds, that's good. But overall, this fire has a life of its own as well, because fires can shift within itself the winds in different direction. Winds today into the southern prairies is going to be quite gusty in parts of Saskatchewan, actually. Gusts up to about 40, maybe 50 kilometers an hour. There are the lighter winds across Alberta from today into the start of Saturday as well. And we're not looking in the long range at terribly strong winds this weekend. What we do want, of course, is the rain. And there is rain moving into northern Alberta next week. The bulk of the heavy moisture, though, is not going to be centered around Fort McMurray, a little bit heavier north of the city, but that's still good. And across Saskatchewan, we're going to welcome this rain coming through into Wednesday, because the fire danger across portions of Saskatchewan and even Manitoba are quite high to extreme as well, because it's been so dry of late, just even from the winter that was dry. Freezing rain warnings in effect in parts of Ontario towards the north as well as Quebec, but towards the south we've got rain moving in for tomorrow in southern Ontario. It's going to be in the afternoon for the Greater Toronto region. Then it shifts to Quebec for your Sunday, which is Mother's Day. We've got some warm temperatures on tap for you this afternoon through parts of Ontario and Quebec. So still a fresh morning, but into the afternoon, temperatures pushing 20 degrees in parts of southern Ontario towards Ottawa and Montreal, same thing. New Brunswick is going to be seasonably cool, same thing for Nova Scotia and PEI, and you also have some wet weather to contend with today, too. Out west, temperatures on the rise again as we head into tomorrow. Above average temperatures in Vancouver this afternoon at 24. Good morning. Thanks for joining us on this Friday. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. Coming up, we will talk about your weekend weather, including your Mother's Day forecast. But right now, we're going to hear from one of the representatives of the Chamber of Commerce in Boyle, Alberta, on how many people are coping with the national disaster, which is the wildfires out in Alberta. And you can help. If you feel helpless watching this event unfold, then go to theredcross.ca. You can also donate by using your phone, your smartphone. Text Red Cross to 30333. All right. And we'll check in with our team on the ground this morning again for you. But just a quick look here, an update on the neighborhoods that have been completely evacuated, which is the ones in gray, then the ones that have suffered serious loss listed in burgundy. So, I mean, it's a huge scope at this point. More coming up in your locals. Thanks for joining us on this Friday. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. As we look at our top stories, we certainly will update you on the wildfire situation out west, but also this Sunday, of course, is Mother's Day. So we'll give you the forecast coming up with Chris Murphy, and more haunting images out of the area of the big plumes of smoke. And it takes us to our must-see video, because I can't even imagine how scary that would have been, and what people are feeling right now, losing their homes and not even knowing what is going on and how long this is all going to take. Current conditions as we look to the weather out in Alberta, it's still quite dry for this morning. Calgary sitting at 6 degrees. Winnipeg, you're at 20, quite warm to start the day. You're going to stick at that 20 degrees, though, into the afternoon. And Halifax, towards the east, we've got a lot of rain. Halifax, 33 millimeters. We wish we could just bring that and take it all the way across towards Alberta. But it's sticking in the east, and through the Avalon today, you're going to see an additional 15 millimeters for St. John's of rain. Currently, right now, in Fort McMurray specifically, humidity up compared to yesterday. It's at 59%, 6 degrees, and the winds light. That's something we certainly like to see. They're sustained at about 11 kilometers an hour with a westerly flow. Our team has been on the ground in Alberta this week. Let's check in and hear their thoughts on what's going on now. Thanks for joining us on this Friday. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. Let's start off with our top national story here at the Weather Network that we're following, and it's the wildfires out in Alberta. Fort McMurray had all the residents have to leave this week. And share your weather. We're going to show some of the photos out of Fort McMurray, Alberta. Mark Robinson has been on the ground from our team. He's been traveling towards the fires, and you can see him on the road here, seeing the big plume of smoke. Poor air quality today in Fort McMurray, obviously, again. And here, another shot on the roads here. And just from a very far distance, you can see something like that. And then the cars completely charred because of this fire, which has actually been compared in terms of size to Calgary. It's as big as Calgary. It's larger than Manhattan, and that's how big it has spread. And then we go towards the east, where the weather story there has been below average temperatures for today. We've got temperatures on the rise in Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal. Ottawa, your forecast high today, 21 degrees, with some sunshine, too. Sunshine in Montreal will stick around into tomorrow. And then the wildfire evacuations, that state of emergency across the province still in play as crews are trying to get everyone the help that they need in the area. Good morning. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic from your National Morning Show.
And I'm Rachel Schutzen from Toronto's Morning Show. We'll quickly take a look at current conditions across the country, and we'll get into the situation in Fort McMurray.
It certainly will. And as far as the weather conditions go, because this plays a part into spreading quickly or not, we got humidity up since yesterday. All right, in our long-range update, we'll take a peek at Sunday. That, of course, is Mother's Day.
It is, and we are going to see some showers just before that. So Saturday, the potential for some thunderstorms within southern Ontario, and then as we in that, and just a big thank you to all the donations and to all the viewers. It's great, and it's going to be a good run, even though it will be a bit cool.
It will be, but it'll be comfortable.
It will.
Better than it being really too hot and dry. Temperature trend as we head into the weekend. So we've got the warm up for today, but then Sunday cooler air. Good morning. Thanks for checking in with us on this Friday as we look at the top stories we're following for you today. We will, of course, talk about the wildfires in Alberta, but it's Mother's Day on Sunday. Chris Murphy will join us with a look at the Sunday forecast, who's seeing rain, who's seeing hot temperatures or cool. And we'll have some more haunting images out of Fort McMurray as well, which it's the size of the city of Calgary. So it's just huge in terms of scope. Calgary right now is 6 degrees. Fort McMurray has got some calmer winds for today. That's good news. Forecast high is 19 degrees, so that's better than the 30 degrees we saw earlier in the week. Toronto, clear skies for you. Towards Montreal, clear conditions as well. It's a nice afternoon. Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal getting up to about 20 degrees each city. Halifax, more drizzle in the forecast for the afternoon, but the bulk of the heavy rain has started to clear out. Newfoundland, however, still will be seeing some windy, wet weather through the day today, and we do still have a risk for some smoky air, not only in Alberta, but Saskatchewan as well for the day. Let's check in with Deb Mediechka, who's been on the ground in Alberta this week. Glad you could check in with us this morning. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. One of the top stories we continue to follow and update you on are the wildfires out in Alberta, and we check out an image. Well, here's how you can help families like that, because there are so many other examples. I'm sure a lot of people in the area can echo that same sentiment who've lost their homes. Redcross.ca, you can donate also by texting the Red Cross to 30333. As far as the neighborhoods or surrounding areas that have been impacted by this fire, you look at this here, and evacuated is listed in gray. Some loss is yellow, but serious loss, which seems to be, the overwhelming look here in the burgundy color, includes images out of Beacon Hill. When you look at some of the before and afters of a neighborhood and then completely getting flattened, charred homes, charred streets, it's pretty astounding. And you can look on our website, theweathernetwork.com, for some of those before and after pictures, which are fairly haunting. The Fort McMurray wildfire is larger than the city of Calgary. So it's now at, last checked, 85,000 hectares, and that's bigger than Calgary. Also, there's an article online that lays over the size of this fire over the major cities in Canada, a few of the major cities such as Toronto, Halifax, Vancouver, and it is larger than all of those that I had just mentioned. So as we look here to Sunday, Mother's Day forecast, of course, we'll touch on that too. There is some rain moving across parts of Quebec and into the Maritime provinces for Sunday. Looks like we're going to be quite dry through parts of Saskatchewan and Manitoba, as well as northern Ontario. And just a snapshot here towards the west. So we'll zoom in and show you that we do have this cold front swinging through, which is going to cool down temperatures across BC as we head into Sunday. Higher elevations will see snow, and some sections of northern Alberta do get a little bit of rain on Sunday, but not exactly as much moisture as we would like to see for those fires. Above seasonal temperatures will be the story across Saskatchewan and Manitoba. This is your Sunday forecast, plus it will be dry. And then as we've got Ontario and Quebec here, this upper level low still producing some cool air. So while we get a nice warm up today and Saturday, for Sunday, some showers and colder air in place. Thanks for joining us on this Friday. I'm Nicole Karkic. As we look at our top weather stories, we certainly will continue to follow the wildfires out in Alberta, but also we'll have an update with Chris Murphy coming up on your Mother's Day forecast. Who's going to see rain? Who's going to see the above or below average temperatures, wildfire weather, as well as more hunting images out of Alberta. And that is when all the people were trying to evacuate out of Fort McMurray, which was on Tuesday after the fire doubled in size in less than 24 hours. So currently we've got Calgary at 6 degrees. It's dry up towards Fort McMurray, a bit of cloud cover here and there. Toronto, on the other hand, nice clear skies. We've got an afternoon high in Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal of about 20 degrees. That'll be nice. And then Halifax, rain is clearing out for you, whereas St. John's, you're still going to see rain showers through the afternoon, some windy weather too on tap for Newfoundland. Meanwhile, Thompson, Manitoba is at -2. Now, currently, specifically in Fort McMurray, we've got the humidity up since yesterday at 60%, 5 degrees, and the winds are light, nice and calm. We'd like to see that because otherwise, if they're too strong, it can spread the fire even more. We've got Chris St. Clair joining us again this morning. And Chris, maybe you can tell our viewers where you've landed at this point and how your experience has been so far. I'm Nicole Karkic from your National Morning Show.
And I'm Rachel Schutzen from Toronto's Morning Show. We continue to follow the stories out of Alberta, out of Fort McMurray. And we actually have Chris St. Clair standing by this morning. We're going to be joining him live from Wandering River.
That's right. But a quick look across the country.
I know, and it really is, it seems out of this world. We were checking in with Kevin Yard this morning in the cherry blossoms in High Park. And you look at a scene like this happening within the same country. So everyone in Ontario, our thoughts are with you in Alberta.
Right.
It's hard to imagine, though.
Absolutely hard to imagine that kind of loss. But still wet towards the east, Rachel.
Yeah, we see those rain showers continuing in Atlantic Canada. And as we look at the humidity in Fort McMurray, the humidity has really improved. So the conditions, yes, they're still dry.
That's right. More updates on that. But a quick look here at Ontario. And there is a front moving through. So we'll travel along this front. Friday, it's in the north, bringing thunderstorms to places like Thunder Bay, Kapuskasing. But it's dry in Toronto and Ottawa and Montreal this afternoon. Really mild as well. And then thanks for joining us on this Friday as we look at our top stories that we're following for you today. Of course, an update on the wildfires out in Alberta, but our Mother's Day forecast coming up with Chris Murphy. We'll see what Sunday looks like. See if you're going to see showers or above or below seasonal temperatures, wildfire weather, and more haunting images spread so much. Last checked, I think this was from last evening, the fire is now 85,000 hectares. So that's how much it has burned, rather. And that is larger than the city of Calgary, for example, which currently is sitting at 4 degrees, as you can see here. So stepping out the door this morning in Alberta, we do have quiet weather for you for now. Winnipeg's 15, Toronto's 11, Montreal 11. Actually, a nice afternoon for cities in southern Ontario and Quebec, getting up to about 20 degrees. Meanwhile, the east, that's where they're getting all the rain, which continues through the afternoon, especially around the Avalon Peninsula. Gander 3 currently. Meanwhile, Ottawa is at 11. Special weather statement in place, not only for Alberta about the smoke, but in Saskatchewan as well, courtesy of the fire spreading. And we've got the westerly flow in terms of the winds today. Chris St. Clair is joining us in Alberta. Chris, looks like a beautiful day there, but sunshine and dry weather, not necessarily what we want to see. Thanks for joining us on this Friday. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. Top story we're tracking for you today, wildfires out of Alberta due to hot, dry weather, not only this month, but leading up to this, it has been below average in terms of the moisture that the city has seen. So look at where people are at this point, out of their homes. We're hearing stories of people not knowing what's happening to their home, not knowing when they're going back. It's heart-wrenching, but you aren't helpless at home. You can actually help by going to the redcross.ca. Also, you can text the Red Cross pretty simply on your smartphone, 30333. That's 3 3s at the end. Now, a few images out here for you. Pretty haunting. These are before and afters. Nice neighborhood here on the top. You can see the green grass, the cars, the after picture. The cars completely charred. Can't see the grass. I mean, it is astounding. The trees completely burnt to a crisp. Another shot here, an aerial view. Again, the green, and then we take you to the smoke plume. And one more before we head out to Chris St. Clair is joining us in Alberta. You can see this field already dry, probably because of the lack of moisture of late, and then the fire off in the distance. The complete black backdrop of this is the fire. So Chris St. Clair joining us this morning, wondering where you're on track for today. All right, thanks, Chris, for that. So again, as we look to the weather story out in the west, for Alberta today, what we can say that we do know is that the winds are going to be calmer through Fort McMurray. Westerly flow, so that pushes the fire towards the east, but calm, sustained at about 10 kilometers an hour. Then as we head into the weekend, there's actually a front coming through, and by next week, on the horizon, glimmer of hope. There is some showers in the forecast, at least for northern Alberta, not specifically for Fort McMurray getting a lot of rain, but there is rain on the way for northern sections of the province, and Saskatchewan too getting some moisture. And while we haven't been focusing on Saskatchewan because there's not a big booming fire out there, the fire danger is extreme in the province, a lot of the province, because it's been so dry there too. So rain on Wednesday is a good thing. Rain in the form of freezing rain in northern Ontario as well as parts of Quebec, and coming up in your locals, you'll find out about how your weekend looks like into Sunday.